This is the Stockton University Sustainability Laboratory. My name is Professor Patrick Hasse. I'm Professor of Sustainability here and the head of the Sustainability Program. And with me is Professor Ron Hutchinson.
I'm in the Sustainability Program as well. My interests are in sustainable agriculture, Agri Ecology, plant physiology, and whatnot. I also teach a class in energy management.
So this behind us is the Sustainability Laboratory. This is where students learn things about high-performance building, green materials, alternative energy, solar, wind, geothermal, all those sorts of kinds of things. And as you can see, it's an active lab where students are working a lot and all the time. The other major lab we have on campus for sustainability is Ron's farm. So on campus, we also have an active farm that produces a lot of produce in a very green and sustainable way. So the students that are concentrating on ecology get a chance to do that. What I'd like to do today is maybe spend about 10 or 15 minutes talking about the program, giving you some idea of what the requirements are, the characteristics of the program, things like that. And then I'll be able to answer your questions, or Ron will answer the questions, or if you have questions related to student life, life on campus, things like that, I'll grab one of the students that are here in the back working, and they'll be happy to answer your questions too. Before we begin, if you're on a mobile device and you want to make a comment, you can go to the participants button, and you can use that to either do a text question or I think that's also where you need to go to unmute, so you can ask. Audio button, okay. And if you're on a computer, then you're going to see on the lower left, there's two icons. One is the mute, unmute. It automatically comes up with mute, I think. But if you have a question, you can put it put the audio to unmute so that you can ask your question. And the other is start video, where I can see you there. So I know that one person has got the video started. And the other one, maybe if you want to make me able to see you, that'd be great. Especially if you're answering questions, that'll be good. And as other people join in, we'll see. We got 8 people that are supposed to be here. We're going to get started, and we'll see if the other 8 join us. So if it's okay with you, the first thing I'd like to do is just maybe give about a 10-minute orientation to the sustainability program, give you some sense of what the program is about. And then you can ask any questions you want. And by the way, those questions don't have to be about sustainability. If you have questions about environmental science, biology, chemistry, or political science, history, the nature of undergraduate education, Stockton University, we're happy to answer those questions as well. And if you just have questions about sort of preparing for college, we can answer those as well. We're not going to try to talk you into coming to Stockton. We don't get paid per student. Our job is to kind of make sure that you've found the right place and the right fit for your career aspirations and your interest. So that's really what we want to do today. Before we begin, from the two of you that are online, do you have any initial questions before I kind of give you an orientation of the sustainability program? You can type them in too, by the way. Okay, no questions. So sustainability has been around for about 8 years. It's a relatively new program, and it's one of only a couple of dozen in the country. It's fairly unusual. You might see some programs that identify sustainability as a degree, but to be honest with you, be a little careful. If somebody is suggesting a sustainability program at a particular university, wherever it is, take a look and make sure that it's legitimately an interdisciplinary sustainability program rather than just some environmental science program that is listed like one political science class or economics class for you to take. Stockton and several other programs around the country began from a clean slate to create a sustainability program that is meant to integrate an interdisciplinary focus of study. So unlike, let's say, biology or environmental science, et cetera, sustainability is about solving problems. And so it incorporates issues of social justice, of economic sustainability, industry, management, as well as technology, ecology, biology, et cetera. So to some degree, to warn you, sustainability is probably the toughest degree you could pick at Stockton. You might think that something like, let's say, I don't know, biochemistry is a tough degree. And biochemistry is kind of tough, but all you're required to know is biochemistry. In sustainability, we require our students to develop an expertise in environmental policy, in management issues, in economics, in technology, in sciences, and then put all those together to be able to solve some of the problems that really challenge us here on the planet. So the goal is not environmentalism 101. You come to it with whatever ideology you want. If your interest is in solving problems, then sustainability might be the right place for you. All the students get broadly trained, so unlike other programs, every sustainability student takes a core set of classes, including one class in environmental policy, one class in ecological economics, a class in ecology, and a class in, my class, technology. So that they have all those basic classes together. But beyond that, they take different classes in areas of expertise. Here's why. Part of what we want to do in sustainability is make sure that when you graduate, you have a job waiting for you. So whether you take this from an ideological perspective in that we're trying to save the planet, or whether you take this from a practical perspective in that our role is to get you a job, the reality is we don't save the planet if you're unemployed. So we want to make sure that you're empowered, that you have the skills you need to actually move into a successful career. That's a long way of saying that we don't allow somebody to just get a generic degree in sustainability. You take those broad classes, but then you have to develop a core set of competencies in a particular area. So if you choose the Bachelor of Arts side, you can either concentrate in policy, and that's the kind of background that would be necessary or desirable for, say, nonprofit management, advocacy work, community organizing work, maybe working with a municipal or state agency. And that concentration includes classes in grant writing, natural resource policy, environmental policy, environmental psychology. On the BA side, we also have a concentration in management, and that concentration allows you to prepare for a career in industry, but working in sustainability. As you probably know, all kinds of companies, from pharmaceutical companies to steel mills, hire experts in sustainability to help make their process more efficient, reduce waste, create better sustainable products. So we train you to be an expert in that field. That's the Bachelor of Arts side. On the Bachelor of Science side, we have 3 areas of concentration. One is also policy, which I know is weird, but if somebody chooses to work in policy, and let's say they want to work in environmental law, or again, work with nonprofits, they may choose to get a Bachelor of Science and get more into the science. And really, even if you wanted to say, work as a field biologist, you could potentially do that concentration, but then also develop additional expertise in biology and work as a field biologist. So we have a policy concentration on the Bachelor of Science side. The other 2 concentrations on the Bachelor of Science side includes Ron's, which is Agri Ecology.
Yeah.
And what kind of jobs do you prefer to get?
So Agri Ecology is anything from, it's a 3-pillared, Agri Ecology is a 3-pillared science, so it involves both growing stuff, so the agronomy part of it, the agriculture, it's involved in food systems and food justice. So those are the parts of that. So we have, so our students would go off and get jobs, maybe working in the urban food landscape, working straight up as a farmer, which is possible as well, working in the food system itself. So there's a number of opportunities for that.
Right.
Our students do internships in all those areas as well.
Right. So imagine the jobs here, because we aren't just training farmers. Ron is everything Ron said is true, obviously, but also imagine, say, working with urban farming or urban community gardens, or maybe even developing locavore or more sustainable menus for restaurants or chefs, things like that. So there's jobs there. The other field, which is quite popular, is the field that I run, which is energy. So students that are interested in alternative energy, green building design, this is essentially, within sustainability, an expertise in applied engineering in the energy field. So you learn about designing buildings, and the field that I work in is actually alternative vehicles, so electric, hybrid, fuel cell types of vehicles in the future for that sort of stuff, as well as solar energy, wind energy, et cetera. All of these, and all of Stockton's sustainability program, is incredibly hands-on, and here's why. We can't train you for the job you're gonna have in 5 years, because it's quite possible that job doesn't exist yet. I can't train you in the technology or the software that you're gonna use in 10 years, because that software hasn't been invented yet. So what we focus on is training people to be resilient, capable, critical thinkers, to be problem solvers. So our lab here, for example, and I know Ron takes the same approach on the farm, we don't do the typical kind of lab exercises. You know what I'm talking about. You probably had like some class in high school or something where, you know, you mix the blue chemical with the green chemical and record the heat generated by the reaction. We don't do that because we know the answer to that. Our lab projects are handing somebody a piece of equipment and saying, here, figure out how this works, and then tell me what the efficiency. Work through the problem. Or here's a solar system, a photovoltaic system. I've ripped out all the wires, put it together and figure out how it works. And the reason for that is the skill we're trying to develop are those hands-on problem-solving skills. So that in the end, even if technology changes, ideally our students have the ability to instruct themselves, to figure out how things work, and to move forward and continue their training. And that's what we need in sustainability. We also need the ability to speak, if you'd like, multiple languages. What I mean is engineers know how to design things. Economists know what makes a profit. Policy folks know what's legal and what's not. But very few people can speak all these languages and put the pieces together into real solutions. So whether you're going to work in an urban garden or whether you're going to work designing green vehicles, you have to understand something about psychology, something about how people use technology, something about economics, and something about engineering, obviously. And so putting those pieces together to find new solutions that people have not yet come up with, to identify perplexing, complex problems, and then work through answers. That's what we do. And that requires sort of a broad interdisciplinary approach. As a result of that, and this is where I'm not going to be shy, as a result of that, our placement in the field is exceptional. Well over 90% of our graduates are working as professionals in the field. It varies dramatically. So if you're working in the energy field, most of our students get job offers before or maybe a few weeks after graduation in the energy field because there's a big demand for energy engineers. If you're working in agriculture, most of our students also get jobs, but you have to be honest with yourself. If you want to work as a farmer, you're probably not going to make a starting salary of $80,000 a year.
Yeah, you're not in the six-figure range yet, but yeah. But a lot of our students do also take in the agricultural field. They take some time and go to maybe different farms. So our one of our seniors this year is looking at 3 different farms. One of whom has a really cool $7 million battery storage system at their farm. And so he comes in looking very good for that particular job because of all the training he's had in the other areas of sustainability.
In general, because of the interdisciplinary approach, employers like us. So I can tell you, even in the engineering field, as an engineer who teaches in this stuff, there's a real weakness in the field, which is that engineers are trained to model things on computers, to design things, but they aren't trained to think about how people use those products as well. They aren't trained to think about the economics as well as they should be. They aren't trained to talk about the policy constraints. So when our students graduate, they generally do pretty well, because if you imagine something like, let's say, being the lead engineer for commercial photovoltaic, you need to understand the policy. You also need to understand how to connect with the community in that area. You need to understand what the required setbacks are. You need to understand the economics of the system in order to be able to design a viable system. And our students can do that. So in general, even though we've only been in place for about 8 years, we've had a very good success rate among our graduates. So that's the good news. The bad news is it's a pretty rigorous program. So I don't want anybody to be misunderstood here. I really genuinely believe what I said. This is probably the hardest degree you could pick at Stockton. There's about 60 students, maybe 50 something in the sustainability program right now. I'm told that nearly half of them, actually, I was about to say well over a third, but nearly half of them are in the energy track. Probably about a quarter of them are in Agri Ecology. And then the rest are split between the BA tracks. It's likely, though, that more people are going to be coming into the policy track, particularly because that policy BS that I described to you has been in existence for, literally a week. We approved it exactly a week ago. So it's been in place for a week. We're expecting a larger influx of students interested in, say, community organizing, policy, nonprofit work, et cetera, as a result of creating a Bachelor of Science in policy. That's a fairly unique kind of approach. So that's it. Hands-on, very much focused on problem solving, community engagement kinds of projects. All of our students work within the community on multiple projects. Every student has to do at least 1 internship. Many of them do more than 2 or 3. Some of them like on the campus farm, some of them in the lab, some of them in the community, some of them with industry. And in the end, what I like to tell my students is you end up with a lot of lines in your resume. Another degree gets you one line, right? Bachelor of Arts, Stockton University. This one, if you're doing energy, you've got lines that say you can do computer simulated building energy analysis. You can do advanced thermography. You're a certified photovoltaic installer. You are trained in solar site assessments, et cetera. And the goal here is to get people thinking broadly, but also get them ready for careers. In the end, if you don't have a job when you graduate, we did something wrong. So that's sort of what sustainability is about. Stockton overall, if you haven't talked to me at Stockton, kind of has some of those same themes. We tend to be a pretty interactive, engaged kind of place. Our typical class size is about 30 students probably. Almost all classes are capped at 35. So it's a very different experience than most universities. In sustainability, our average class size is probably about 12. My energy class is at 8 this term. And that's the biggest energy class I've ever taught. So we tend to be kind of very interactive. Andrew is back there listening. Andrew, do you have something to add to this?
No, I'm just listening. I don't really have anything to add.
So Andrew is one of our students in the energy track. He's a year away from graduation and in my energy practicum. And you can see what he's designing there is a tracking system that will create essentially a concentrated solar thermal collector. He's been printing that from our 3D printers. We have about 4 or 5 3D printers. You'll notice the lab has some crazy stuff in it, including 3D printers, a couple of welders, machining tools, et cetera. You might notice in the back there a whole big pegboard. That's not because we're training craftsmen. It's because if we're going to invent new solutions that haven't yet been defined, we need to be able to make them too and test them and evaluate them and see how they work. So often, at least in the energy track, it requires some hands-on innovation in terms of figuring out how do we make this thing that we think will solve this problem. Are there questions from you that I can answer? Did you hit the, I'm not hearing you. Did you hit the unmute button? Yeah, it says actually, oh, I can see you're still muted. So on your keyboard, I think on the lower left, there's a button to turn off your mute.
Can you hear me? It's Bill.
Yeah, now I got you.
Okay, sorry. It's Bill Hector. I emailed you guys this afternoon. I'm
Right.
Brennan's father.
Yeah. Glad to see you, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, Brennan's actually working tonight, Smashburger, so he's
Okay.
job, but so I'm covering for him. About the internships, where generally, so are those summer internships? Or
It
during the
depends.
school year, or is it vary?
So as a requirement, every student's required to do 4 credits of internship officially. But what we often do is we break that up. So for example, a student might during the term do a 1-credit internship with actually, what is your son interested in? Energy? So I can give you a good example.
Not sure. I mean, if he's in, sustainability, I don't think he's gotten that.
So then I'll mix them up.
Yeah.
So he might do a 1-credit internship, let's say working with a local farm, helping them, I don't know, develop an outreach program. But then the next term, he might do 2 credits working with an energy company, learning about commercial solar installations. And then maybe some opportunity opens up to do an overseas internship or something like that, or maybe work with an industry in New Jersey over the summer. So it really depends, and we're pretty flexible about them. There's certain organizations and companies that we have rotating internships with. So we just actually started one with a passive solar design firm. So we're going to have probably 2 or 3 interns a year in New York doing internships with them, which is great because they hire a lot of our graduates. And then local farms also have internship opportunities. So we often mix them up. And especially what we like is to mix up the level. Like usually people wait until their junior or senior year to do an internship. But
Yeah.
I actually like the idea of like your freshman or sophomore summer doing like a 1-credit internship to get a taste of something that you think you might like.
Right.
So, maybe your son is really interested in energy, but thinks, community organizing might be cool. Okay, we'll hook him up with some small project with a nonprofit over the summer, and you can kind of see if that's something he likes.
Yeah, you get a taste of the real world, right?
Yeah, and if he doesn't like it, no harm done. It's still a good experience, and we haven't wasted his internship experience because there's still plenty left for another
Right.
internship.
What are the top employers in the Jersey, Pennsylvania, Philly area? Once they graduate with, say, a BS, are there a couple that are at the top of the list?
Well, let's see. That design firm that I talked about, Stephen Winters Associate in New York, Connecticut, has hired more of our students than anybody else. They now have 4 of our students working there.
Okay.
Let's see, there's a commercial energy company that does photovoltaics, commercial grade photovoltaics. They've hired 2 of our students. And I think PSE&G has 2 or 3 of our former students. Notice these numbers are pretty small, right?
Yeah.
We're a program of 60. We put out about 12 students a year, and about a third to half of those are in energy. So we don't have like 80 graduates in any particular.
Yeah. And so the typical incoming freshman class is 10 or 10 to 15?
10 to 15, yeah, maybe 20. Actually, I take it back because of the way you answered the question. The typical incoming class is probably about 8, and then we get another 8 or so that come in as transfers to community college.
Okay. And what's the, as we're looking at colleges, I know that we were at one school last week, and they said that kids generally are switching their majors about 40% of the time. You know, they get into sophomore year, and you find that at Stockton that kids went a couple of years in will start to have another.
Yes and no. So in Stockton overall, yes, we get students that are undeclared or students that pick a major and then they change. I consider that a success.
Yeah.
If a student comes in, isn't sure what they're going to do, and then they figure things out, well, that's the whole point of college. So I'm perfectly fine with that. I can tell you that with sustainability,
I think more people come in than leave. So.
I think actually, I've been here since the beginning, and I'm the guy that runs the program, so I sign all the forms. I think we've had 2 students leave sustainability for another major. And part of that is because when they choose to major in sustainability, I tell them, this is what it's about. It's going to be a lot of work. In the end, here are the goals. So nobody kind of majors by accident. In fact, I can tell you honestly that if somebody comes into me and says, I want to change my major to sustainability, I never sign the form with the first meeting. I tell them about the program, tell them to go away, come back next week, and if they want to change their major, I'll sign their form. So generally, students know what they're getting into. They've talked to a few other students before they pick sustainability. Nobody sort of accidentally says, oh, you know, I don't know what I want to do for a career. Let me do sustainability because it sounds hard.
Right. And I'm thinking that even though nobody has a crystal ball, that 10 years from now, 15 years from now, it'll be even a hotter profession. Is that, you guys have any research on that? Or
I think, first off, yes, I think that's true, obviously. But also, here's the thing I can kind of guarantee. Problem-solving skills, the ability to conceptualize problems, to rework them, and then come up with solutions, the resilience to work through a problem until you get to meaningful solutions, whether that's a community problem or an industrial problem, those are skills that are never going to go out of style.
Yeah, those are lifelong. You know, that's something that'll, even if they end up in 5 different roles, that's a common thread. Yeah? No, I like that.
I like to joke that, you know, I have career ADD. I started out as an engineer, went to policy, did applied technology, did 7 years in the Navy, came into sustainability from natural resource management and worked with actually wildlife and bear management, and then went back into engineering and energy engineering. And that might seem kind of erratic, but it was the perfect background for sustainability, right? Because you need to be able to kind of take all these pieces and put them together.
Right. If, I don't know if this is possible, but if we came down, we live in North Jersey, but if we came down, could Brennan actually, do you have anything where they could sit in on a class?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that something you guys do?
Either of you, is it Sheena? Is that right? I'm sorry for the other person that's participating, but I'm probably getting her name wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, I just didn't want to, okay. Sheena? Hi, Sheena. If either you or your son or Sheena, you or anybody you know wants to come by, I'd be happy to have you sit in on a class. Also meet with students. So if you tell me like the area you're interested in, if it turns out you're really interested in whatever, I don't know, food and agriculture, we can have you organize a visit to the farm and also have you connect with students at the farm. So you could actually sort of like, you know, shadow a student in a typical day at the university. I will, by the way, warn you, we've now closed the university to classes until the 5th of April because of the virus outbreak.
It's happening all day. A lot of schools are closing until April 5th, you said?
Yeah, April 5th. Yeah.
You got to teach online. I heard that today on the news. A lot of schools are going to try to do.
Well, you know, here's the thing. As I just told you, like all of our stuff is hands-on. This is where we teach. I don't know how to teach this online. Like, so I think we're actually, I'm going to have to extend my classes into the summer. So we're going to have to wait until it's kind of over. And then we'll have to go through May and into June if we need to.
Yeah, it's tough.
I'm trying to think of a way to do things with Zoom or some sort of video conferencing.
Online farming?
Yeah. And I hope
Good
that's
luck with that.
watching me weed. You know, that's what I don't want. Is you missed one. You missed one over there.
That, a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You're out there with a hoe.
Yeah, like there's one over there. Get that one there.
And you guys can make a lot of money doing that. You'll be a reality star.
Yeah. Well, this will be on YouTube, so this is going to be our breakout.
Okay.
World, I think this will definitely go viral.
That's all the questions I had. Thank you for that.
China, did you have a question? Oh, yeah. So, I mean, you come up with a good question, which is essentially majoring in biology or interdisciplinary kind of areas. Yeah, a couple of things here is, one, if you turn out sustainable. Okay, here's the way I'm going to start this. I would not recommend you come to Stockton or any university as undeclared. If you haven't quite decided, there's probably something you're sort of interested in, major in that, whatever it is. And the reason is it gives you a home. And so if you have questions and you're a biology major, you can go to biology professors and ask them questions. You can talk to biology students, and it gives you kind of a place you can start.
Mm-hmm.
And if you change your major, that's fine. Sustainability is sort of nice for that. We don't have very many people leave sustainability, but if you think that sustainability seems like it might be cool, I would recommend you start in sustainability. And if it turns out that's not a good fit, well, by being in sustainability, you can come and talk to me, come and talk to Ron, come and talk to the other students, ask them questions, and sort of help you decide where a good fit is. So maybe it'll be biology. In the case of Ron, actually, he's a sustainability professor and a biology professor. So he could kind of talk you through what are the differences and what careers do you have in biology versus sustainability, et cetera. But in general, I never recommend that somebody come and just be undecided, because if you do that, you just end up in the generic advising office.
Yeah.
They'll tell you what classes to take to meet your general studies requirements, but they're not going to sit down with you and talk to you about career options.
Right.
And for me, 3 of the classes I teach in sustainability are cross-listed with biology. So they have a significant biology content associated with them.
And your first year, you really can't make a mistake. Honestly, just about anything you take your first year, we can make fit. Ideally, what I like to tell people is ideally by the end of your freshman year, you kind of have an idea of what you want to major in. By the end of your sophomore year, you kind of have an idea of what career you want. And by the end of, the beginning of your junior year, you know the specialty you want. And if it doesn't work out that way, that's fine. But that's sort of the trajectory we kind of like.
Makes sense.
China, any questions?
No, no question.
Okay. Okay, so one more thing, just before you leave. If you have any questions, and this is for both of you, please feel free to contact Ron or I. You've got my email, but in case you can't find it, it's my last name and my first initial. And for any faculty member at Stockton, it's their last name, first initial. So it's HOSSAYP@stockton.edu. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. And honestly, that includes questions not about sustainability. So if you decide you want to major in political science, but you just have questions about what political scientists do, be happy to help you answer those questions or connect you with somebody who can. If you decide you want to go to Rutgers and major in engineering, be happy to talk to you about careers in engineering and what possibilities and what the pros and cons of Rutgers. Again, we don't get paid by student. Our goal is to make sure we've got a good fit.